You're listening to the Pittsburgh Piledriver.
What the hell is that?
Podcast.
Happy New Year! Oh, almost had an editing issue there. Happy New Year, nerds and dumbos that listen to this podcast. What a terrible time it has been, and a terrible time we will continue to have, because Vince McMahon is still at the helm of all things WWE, which means just Turd City. We'll see. We'll see what the new year brings. We'll see who the new year claims. It's all going to be exciting stuff. But in any case, we hope you had a grandular new year, and it's time to talk about some wrestling, because the P3 has been off for 2 weeks because we couldn't be bothered to do anything during holiday time because it's cookie time, and I ate far too many. In any case, Poke the Bard, Beef the Legend, me, Rantonian, Tiger Bomb Tom is out. He is gone. He's doing girlfriend things. He's waddling around in his handsome shorts, probably. I'm assuming no shirt, because that's how he rolls when he's not on camera.
Absolutely true. Can
You blew it. You blew it. We're supposed to say he's off on the Tiger Bomb Tom World Championship Tour with Lucha something or other.
No one believes that. No one believes that. No one's taking that scotch taped printer paper, ripped, got holes in it, foam spinner belt anywhere. It ain't happening. It's an embarrassment.
No,
it's
man,
time to get back to wrestling.
He's got a new title. Looks good.
We've been off for 2 weeks, and it's time to get back to some wrestling. Later this week, we'll do some Among Us, I'm sure, in the Casual Gaming Dad sponsor Discord and on his Facebook, YouTube, Switchy, Twitchy, Twitch. But now it's wrestle time. So begin. Let's wrestle.
Let's go. Well, first of all, I think we absolutely should thank the sponsors. We mentioned Casual Gaming Dad and his page, Casual Gaming Dad, and Casual Gaming Dad's Corner on Facebook, Casual Gaming Dad 84 on YouTube and Twitch. Also, thank you to Gold Gaming for carrying the Pittsburgh Piledriver podcast t-shirt, and thank you to Sean Tischler. We can't wait for more independent wrestling in the central Pennsylvania area. Now, to address the other obvious big thing that happened, and there's so much to talk about, but we really should kick this off with talking about the late John Huber, aka Brodie Lee, aka Luke Harper, for all you folks who are not into the AEW thing. He passed away due to a non-COVID related lung issue, and it seemed very, very sudden. And I think the reason, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but this was one of those things that felt like it was out of the blue and it was kind of out of nowhere. And it really was, but I think it felt more that way because he was kayfabe off TV from that, what was it, chain match he had?
Dog collar match,
collar match with Cody. Cody Rhodes now. We can say it, Cody Rhodes.
Well, we could have said it regardless. They just couldn't say it.
That duly noted and accounted for. And apparently it really was like that quick. I mean, before we get into like some of the reported stuff or whatever, what do you guys have to say about this? I mean, obviously we're going to talk about the memorial show and stuff, but when you guys heard about this, what was your reaction? Because mine simple statement was very kind of like, it was shock. It was absolute shock.
Yeah, I was absolutely speechless. And, again, for those of you who know me, you know that that's not something that comes to me naturally. No. So for me to be absolutely upended and with nothing to say, just I think it was either our buddy Dave or my buddy Justin who had messaged me about it, and I was like, get the fuck out. I think that was my legit response. Get the fuck out, because it was so outlandish and out of nowhere and just absolutely unbelievable because no one knew anything. AEW allegedly knew as far back as November that there was, an issue. There were rumors floating around that he was injured, taking some time off for an injury. But, I mean, like, it literally just was absolutely out of the ether. And, just a really fucking shitty thing to happen, like, smack dab in the middle of the holidays.
Ransom.
Yeah. Pretty much. I don't know. I think my reaction was, oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we tend to see, and I can't speak for the royal we here. Me sometimes. I think I tend to see some people, like, maybe some wrestlers or whatnot, as larger than life, stronger than most. And, when suddenly somebody succumbs from something really quick, it's like, oh, geez, that's kind of crazy. But, I suppose if I look at it logically, it could happen to anybody, Anybody could drop dead at any moment from any number of maladies. You could stroke out. Happens to me. Could be car accidents, could be, who knows, at the blink of a dime, or at the, blink of an eye, blink of a dime. What? At the blink of an eye, anybody's candle could be snuffed out. And whether you choose to believe in, natural whatever progression, or you tend to believe that there's a higher power, not Vince McMahon, but, an actual, deity, higher power, whatnot. Hey man, when your time is up, your time is up. And it could be a long drawn out process. It could be super sudden. But yeah, I didn't hear of any issues going on with him. So I think that's where it came as kind of like a little bit of a stunner. Like, oh, just wow. That kind of happened pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and it certainly was the, like I said, I think to the fan, like you said, the AEW officials and people backstage knew, going as far back as November, but from all accounts, and according to Uncle Dave Meltzer on was it wrestling? What's his podcast called?
Does Meltzer have a podcast? I thought he just started on everybody else's podcast.
No, I think he has his own podcast. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but he had mentioned that apparently what happened was whenever Brodie was kayfabe off TV, he was doing his workouts, and specifically said the Peloton workout, which the Peloton is that bike, that hyper expensive exercise bike thing that like has programs and connects to the internet and everything like that. But he apparently he couldn't finish his Peloton workouts, and like he started feeling really crappy, and then things just kind of escalated from there. And the thing that really took me by this, aside from the show, which we'll get to, but the thing that really took me was the fact that it was really nice to hear that he was the man that he was portrayed as, in interviews and stuff like that, just being a nice man. He was a nice family man. He was always hardworking. And it was more that he was a positive influence backstage and to the people that were around him, his coworkers, the people that worked for whatever organization. And I think it shows the character of him to have WWE acknowledge his passing in admittedly a very tasteful way. I think it was tasteful for WWE on NXT and on their programming to just, they had the slate, they had his birth and death date, and they left it at that. I thought that was respectful, but there were some people that were kind of butthurt they didn't do more.
Well, to be fair, And I think that this is the absolute.
Sorry, had
That's
to
a
get
nice
that out.
tone.
Thank you.
That's a nice tone. Somebody said, and I can't unsee it now, that I think it was Dubs, actually, our friend Witherow mentioned it to me, that it was basically WWE taking a back seat. People that were upset that WWE didn't do more, I think, need to look at the big picture. Yes, John Huber was a part of the WWE family for many years as Luke Harper. But John Huber was a current member of the AEW family. That would be like your that would be like your in-laws throwing a wake versus your family throwing a wake.
Right.
And I thought it was tasteful that WWE kind of said, "Here's our thing. We're sorry to hear you. You know, we're sorry to see you go, Luke." And they kind of pulled back the reins and said, "AEW, the floor is yours. Do what you got to do for John, and we're just gonna let you do your thing." That's how I took it. I didn't perceive it as a slight.
Oh no, I don't think really any reasonable fan took it as a slight at all. I don't. I it seems unreasonable for people to have taken it as a slight, and I think that's just. I honestly think that's just knee-jerk reaction. I do to people. They always want to create, and this might show a little bit of the fans. Like they kind of want to create like drama or problems that aren't there. You know what I mean?
I don't believe it. Not wrestling fans.
Yeah, no, never.
So what you said that I think Bear is saying is that by all accounts, and I mean, honestly, I don't know. And I'm not trying to sound like a dick or anything, but you don't really get a fair account of how people are after they're dead. Because no one in the world feels like it's their place to say, "Oh, he was a dick." I mean, rest in peace and all, but he was a dick.
Well, you're not
Jim
wrong.
Cornette would say it. Jim Cornette would say it.
Maybe Cornette might, and I mean, they're like Howard Stern, the shock jock types certainly would, but for the most part, people aren't going to have a bad thing to say. But in reality, like we didn't hear anything in memoriam or while he was still alive, anything derogatory about John. He showed up, he did his job, he had his nose to the grindstone, and even when WWE refused to let him out of his contract, he sat on the sidelines and pretty much did nothing for 6 months without so much as a fucking peep. So, but by all accounts, the dude was a good dude. And here's where I'm going with this. That so often we talk about the slime balls in wrestling, and they are full of them.
Yeah.
It seems like more and more they're being weeded out, but and more it's just guys just hanging out in the back having a good time, gaming and what have you. But sports media, like entertainers, writers, producers, directors, actors, we tend to latch on to them, and they're some pretty fucking terrible people. And then whenever they're dead, everybody comes out and be like, "Oh, what a great person he was." Like Michael Jackson, for example. Great entertainer, one of the best showmen of all time, and had some banging hits. Terrible human being. So, for a guy like John, and I don't feel good saying a guy like John. John Huber, I didn't know him personally. Everything you hear, he was one of the good ones. He was one of the ones you could actually look up to as a quote unquote star and be like, "This is a guy that I want my kids to emulate."
Well, and you're kind of seeing it, with his. Well, I mean, you're seeing that return in kind back to him with number one how they're treating John's family. Seriously, they're AEW is stepping up and showing how it should be done. Yep. Absolutely. Now, and to be fair, that the cons have the funds and the resources to do it. So
real quick, I agree with you, but I think it also depends on the circumstance. For example, the night after Owen Hart died, I don't think anybody wanted to see Vince McMahon trot out there with like the Intercontinental title and hand it to Owen's widow,
right,
and say, "Here you go. Like, we're retiring this for a new, a new belt coming up, but we want you to know that Owen's son is the forever Intercontinental champion." Like, and I mean, it's the same kind of with Eddie, because ultimately at the end of the day, Eddie's substance abuse problems were more or less caused by the business. And so therefore, like, it wouldn't be fair for the business to then try to capitalize on it and say, "Oh, hey, we're going to memorialize this great dude." With Brodie, it's a different situation. And I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know what caused his lung issues and why they deteriorated so quick. And, nobody really knows that. Maybe his wife. But at the end of the day, circumstances depend. But yes, I think AEW did a wonderful job of showing how it should be handled.
I agree. Absolutely wholeheartedly agree. Now, I think we should and now, Beef, you talked about you did a review of the show on our page. You did a live review.
Yeah, man. Not just that, but also because it's the fucking most wonderful time of the year. Motherfuckers, it is Wrestle Kingdom Eve. That shit's happening in a matter of like 12 hours. Probably less than that, actually.
Oh, I thought it was next weekend.
No, man. 4th and 5th, tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday. Of course, Japan being 16 hours ahead of us, whatever the fuck it is. It's quote unquote live for us tomorrow morning at 3:30 in the morning or whatever, 4 in the morning. But I plan on catching it next weekend, obviously, as the recap. But yeah, I mean I was super fucking excited about that. But I don't want to bury the lead here. Yeah, the Brodie Lee Memorial Show was everything that I wanted and then some. It had great action, bell to bell. There was not one match that I sat there and went, "Well, this is superfluous and unnecessary." Obviously, the Dark Order won every single match, and that's fine. Actually, I think that they lost against MJF and whoever he was with, and again, that's fine. That's how it should have been booked. And we understood that going in. So bookings weren't a surprise, but it was a fun night full of great matches, awesome memories, and all of the fucking emotions that this guy could handle, and then some.
And seeing guys like you pointed out, Colt Cabana coming out, and looking like he just got off a fresh round of crying. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that, I don't care who you are. That just yanks at your heartstrings. Just absolutely yanks at your heartstrings.
Yep. And I mean, they had, I thought, and I thought it was really cool what they did with Anna Jay, that they really talked her up as like, Brodie's chosen one, as it was. Like the one that he kind of picked out of the crowd and said, "You're going to be a star. You're not perfect yet, but you're going to get there." And he even said to like Sonny Kiss at one point, he's like, "Take care of her. She's going to be a big star." And you could read it on her face, man, that she was just so thankful to have involvement, and that she was tapped by him. So that's, they did so much right, and I can't really speak a bad thing about that show.
No, I can't either. And the matches were really good too. And seeing the little nods to Brodie, like who was it? John Silver, his tights that he did.
Did you know that those tights were paid for and bought by Brodie Lee?
What?
Yeah. Those tights were purchased. The tights and the jacket were purchased by Brodie Lee as a gift to John Silver. It cost like $1,000 or something, and John got them for him thinking that the jacket would really make him seem big time.
And it looks great on him.
Yeah.
It
does.
My
God, yeah.
Oh, it does make him look like $1 million. Like absolutely.
And so that's what and again, and I don't want it to be a whole bunch of puffery for Brodie, although maybe it can be. We'll go as the movement takes us, but that's what you're really losing with John Huber, Brodie Lee, Luke Harper is a guy who can look at the situation and can say, well, let's do this, or what if we did this? He's a guy that get it, and the guys who get it are so few and far between. One of my favorite tweets I saw was Cody Rhodes tweeted out a conversation between him and John before the squash match where Brodie Lee beat Cody Rhodes. And he said to Cody, Cody, would it be okay if I just pinned you and without hooking the leg? And Cody said something to the effect of like, that's fine, Big Rig. That's fine. Something real fucking like sweet, and like I was like, that's a great little nod where John was like, hey, I think that this would really kind of put it over, and it showed that Cody's a guy that can see the forest from the trees as well. So
absolutely. Well, I mean, they were trying to put him over as a force of nature, and it really does put the icing on the cake, and to show that whenever someone comes and says, hey, let me do this extra little bit to kind of put my character over, and have someone be accepting of that, I think shows that they're able, that, they're doing it not out of selfishness. They're doing it because they know it's going to be that extra little bit to really make people invest.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The thing to push it over the top, for sure.
Ransom, did you catch any of the show?
I caught snippets, not live, but after it happened, I went back and I looked for some things and watched some snippets here and there. So I can't really comment a whole lot on the in-ring action. One of the things I thought was really neat was when Eric Rowan came out and made his appearance. I imagine those two guys were tight, what with all the time that they had spent together in WWE.
Oh, sure.
As part of the Wyatt family, the Bludgeon Brothers, that whole ordeal. So I imagine that those two were pretty close buds. Again, don't know, just assuming. But my question, I guess, is Eric Rowan, was that just a tribute / guest spot? Nice little Easter egg? Or is he going to be showing up more in AEW going, here on out?
By all accounts, that was just a one-off. I think it leaves the door open for him. But because everybody was freaking out saying Eric Rowan's there, Eric Rowan's this, and Ransom and I talked the one night, and we said, how cool would it be? Like, what if? Let's fantasy book here. Let's throw something at the wall. If Eric Rowan were to come in, sign with AEW, and come in to the Dark Order, what role do you think he would fill? I kind of now, because Ransom and I had yacked about this a little bit. What's your take if it were to happen? If they did bring him in and he signed a contract, what role do you think he would play in the Dark Order, if at all?
So this really puts booking in a tough spot because, again, John seemed like he was one of the guys, so it's, he wouldn't want this to be something that just stopped, like the McMahon limousine thing. Like, he wouldn't want this to just blow up, no pun intended, and just like end. He would want the Dark Order to continue. But at the same time, like, they put so much time and machinations behind making him the Exalted One, Mr. Brodie Lee, that it's going to be tough for them to fill that void just because of the style of persona that character, the Exalted One, was. How does one move on once the Exalted One is gone? I think that there are a couple of smart ways to go about it. I think if you're going to ham-fist book, I think Rowan could fit that role, although I would not be a fan of that. I would rather them use Brodie Jr. as a Godfather style role, voice modulate him, have him sit behind this big fucking desk in this suit,
That'd be awesome.
Right? Or have it be fucking John Silver or somebody just out of the fucking, blue like that. That would be that's right, now I'm the Exalted One, and kind of step up. It's gonna be tough. I don't think that Rowan ends up in AEW. And if he does, I think he does end up in the Dark Order for sure, but I don't think he ends up in AEW because, and I'm not, again, trying to be a dick in all this, but at the end of the day, I think Rowan was the Jannetty. Luke Harper was always the one that people wanted to see succeed. He was always the one getting the singles belts. He was always the one getting the singles pushes, as evidenced by his run as Brodie Lee in All Elite Wrestling. He was the guy that was kind of the driving force in that tag team. I don't think Rowan carries that kind of clout. I'm not saying that there's not going to be something down the road, but I just think right now it would be best for him to kind of, especially because if he starts coming around AEW, he's going to be getting the booking oh, it's Brodie's buddy, and I don't think he would want that. I don't think Brodie would want that. I don't think AEW wants that necessarily. So I think the smart play is to kind of distance himself from the situation in AEW for a bit. If he wants to come back at a later time, that'd be great. But yeah, right now he would just be getting sympathy booked, and I don't think that leads anywhere good for anybody.
I would agree. I would agree with you. And mine's pretty short and pretty simple. The two ways that I could see them booking this is have Eric Rowan away. If they did bring him in, have him away, and then bring him in as a herald for the second coming of the Exalted One. The Exalted One is something more powerful and omnipresent and just kind of, out there in the ether. We will see him come back, and he will come back in a different form. Choose your form. The traveler has come, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I think he would be good in that role, or as an enforcer for the Herald. So have someone else be the mouthpiece and have him be an enforcer, and then bring in the one I postulated would be, and I think this would be great, would be to have Marty Scurll come in and do it, because he was one of the ones that we threw out there as a prime choice to be the Exalted One of the Dark Order. The other way to book it was have him come in and, bring him into AEW, and then have it be oh, he's going to be part of the Dark Order, and have him be no, that's not my thing. It's too painful. It reminds me of, and then have him become, opposed to the Dark Order or something like that. You see what I'm saying? You could do a lot with it, but like Beef said, I don't think right now he needs to be in there. And I think right now he needs to be separate. He needs to, whenever he can, get out there, work the indies, maybe spend some time in Impact or Raw, or maybe in, I don't know, maybe in Japan, maybe somewhere over in the UK, but just have him out there and, kind of establishing himself a little bit more, maybe change his look a bit, things like that. Ransom, what do you think?
I really don't know, to be completely honest with you. I don't know what the best decision for the leader of the Dark Order would be. Maybe to kind of echo Beef's sentiment, again, nothing against Eric Rowan, but usually in tag teams, there's a standout. And again, no offense, but in my opinion, when I look at the Bludgeon Brothers or the Wyatt family or, whatever their tag team persona was, Luke Harper stuck out. Eric Rowan kind of didn't. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was just a one-off, just like a nice little tribute. He was able to pay homage to his friend. I don't know. I have no idea if he stays in AEW or not. Don't know. I don't really have a good guess on what they do with the Dark Order. Putin and I talked about this that night. We said, do they promote from within? Is it a existing Dark Order member takes over? Is it an outsider that they were already planning on bringing into the company, and now maybe they do a shift? Like Poot said, maybe Marty Scurll. I don't know. Or do they disband it altogether and say, hey, the Dark Order was a great thing. The Exalted One's no longer with us. Shake hands in the ring. We all go our separate ways. I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to do. I'm excited to see what comes of it, but I couldn't begin to postulate on what I think they're going to do with it, because honestly, I don't know.
So here's something that I think would absolutely kill. Yeah, I think I don't think that they're going to disband the Dark Order because they have way too much invested in it with Uno and Stu and the Dark Order recruiting process with Anna Jay and Colt Cabana, and now Adam Page was kind of on that periphery as well. They've done some absolutely ridiculous stuff on Being the Elite, BTE, which is where some of the best Brodie Lee moments came from, were him hitting Silver and Uno with the papers and calling them fucking morons. I saw a cameo that he did, and he's like, hey, I understand that you were supposed to be in the Dark Order, but apparently John Silver handled your fucking paperwork, and it didn't get pushed through because he's a fucking moron. And I'm like, that's fucking great. But I think it would be neat if they and I mean I think you have to kind of play it kind of close to the vest with his family and see what they think about it. But ultimately, I love the idea, like Poot said, of how the Exalted One is not a person; it is a being. It is a consciousness. Much like the Tex in Red versus Blue, it was it's an AI. It's something that travels from being to being. I think it'd be cool, Adam Page, Hangman, is on the periphery, as a recruit. If he started incorporating some Brodieisms, he started carrying around those roll of papers and it tucked into his tights, and every so often, on Being the Elite, when they'll do a thing, you're a fucking moron, Silver, things like that, and real quick would snap out of him and go, the hell was that? Just a funny nod, and then have I don't know, have him be the Exalted One. I don't know. There's so much, but I mean, I think that the Exalted One being a consciousness could definitely be the way to go, and I think if they threw in some Brodieisms as Mr. Brodie Lee, I think that would absolutely be killer, and I think he would appreciate that.
Agreed. Now. I think we could sit here and pontificate on AEW and the future of AEW and talk about Brodie Lee and that show, but I think we gotta talk a little bit about what's going on in WWE. What do you think?
Yeah, real quick though, I do just want to really give a shout, and I mean, again, not that anybody listens. Although I mean, we do have our loyal listeners we appreciate, and we're growing, so growth is the important part. But Yeah, I do want to give a shout out to AEW and to Tony Khan, because this is a show that's been around for a year and like 2 months, and has existed its first full year in the middle of a pandemic where they couldn't put on full shows and had some big contracts overhead. And again, I understand that Tony Khan is well vested, but to have them take an event like New Year's Bash, I forget the fucking name of it, and like say, hey, you know what, we're going to put this off a week, knowing that they're going to be going head to head with New Year's Evil on NXT. In addition to doing that, taking the TNT title and literally retiring that design. That belt is not more than 6 months old. They're retiring the design. Tony Schiavone broke the news on his After the Bell show after AEW. Tony Khan told him that they are retiring the title. That belt that he gave Brodie Jr. was the AEW TNT title. They are giving that to him, and they are retiring that design, not the TNT Championship, but just that design, and coming up with a brand new title. That's not cheap. That belt, although at first it was obviously largely panned, I think we kind of grew on all of us, and it was very well put together, and it looked like it cost some serious dollars. They're going through, and they're going to have that same process of getting paying a new designer, forking up the money for the materials to have it made, that whole ball of wax for the second time in 6 months. That is big league stuff. So the more that I hear about the situation, the more I see of it, the more I absolutely love it.
That's, I mean, I can't think of it a better way. Like, they just seem, it seems like anything that's thrown in the way of AEW, they seem to take it in stride and come out of it better. You know what I mean? They really do. They seem to always take the high road. And I'm not trying to put my mouth on trouble here with them, but like, really, they always seem to just come out of the gate swinging. And if they stumble, they kind of dance around, and then they get their footing again and keep going, and things are better. You know, and there's always doomsayers that say like, oh, this is going to be the thing. How are they going to handle this? Oh, what are they going to do with this? You know, and they just always come out on top. They just do. I mean, like you said, this company's been around for a year and 2 months, and their first year, they pretty much existed without crowds. The bulk of the year, they've existed without crowds. And now, again, like you said, having the scratch behind it certainly helps. However, like, I mean, I think they would have been okay anyway. I really do.
Ratings-wise, they seem to be doing pretty well.
Oh, that's an understatement for what they are.
For them to be a year and a couple months old and to be getting consistently between 750K and 1 million viewers is very, no. I don't know how ratings translate to viewers. I think 750,000 to 1 million viewers weekly is a big deal. When you look at, you know, ratings on the whole, obviously, you know, primetime NFL games get like 14 million and everything, and that's, you know, a number that wrestling's never going to touch ever. But, you know, for them to be, again, growing during the pandemic when, by all accounts, they should have been taking a break or losing business or losing money, for them to be growing is a huge fucking deal.
Not to mention, too, that they're going up against an already established brand of NXT. It's not like they're doing their programming on a completely wrestling-free night. granted, NXT hasn't been on USA all that long, but at the same token, NXT was around and established long before AEW. So for them to be able to go up head-to-head against a pre-established brand, not that they beat them every week, but it seems like they're consistently holding their own.
They do.
Okay. Good howling in the background.
NXT has won, I think, 3 times in the last year and a half, or year and 2 months there has been.
Right. So, again, that just goes to show that AEW is doing something right. Now, we've talked about it before. I don't know if it's because it's new and refreshing, a completely different brand, new superstars, wrestlers, whatever the hell they're called. Probably AEW, they're called wrestlers. New wrestlers that you don't see in WWE or NXT. So take your pick. Take your pick of the reason. Regardless of the reason, they seem to be doing something right. And kudos to them, because it's not easy to start something up brand new, have that kind of viewership, and also go up against a pre-established brand that had existed already in the wrestling industry, and you're holding your own, and you're beating them. So whatever it is, whatever the reason, they're doing it right, which should really be clearly evident.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Well, I'm excited to see where things go, because one of the rumors, and because admittedly beef is the most ingrained in the New Japan world and JPW world, there's a lot of talk of the working relationship between AEW and New Japan being one of the possible high notes and keynotes of 2020 to continue pushing the wrestling world forward. What do you think the odds of that are at the moment?
Well, with Harold gone, I think that it's a lot bigger deal. I mean, Kenny's got nothing to be bitter about. Kenny was treated like a fucking superstar over there. But, I mean, Kenny did his time. He worked for, I think, DDT for a long time over in Japan and became, went through the process of being a young boy over there. And, went through the process of being, a guy over there. And then was in New Japan for a while before he got his real shot to hold the big belt. So Kenny's got nothing to be bitter about. Cody was there for a cup of coffee. I don't see there's any. But the real problem here, I think, is the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks have a lot of hurt feelings. And I don't know why. They were one of the best junior tag team champions out there. I don't know the math, but I know they have a lot of fucking IWGP junior tag team title reigns in there. Yes, and they did have a couple of heavyweight title runs that weren't the best. And I get all of that. But I mean, realistically, I don't know why there's that sense of bitterness. And I don't know if it was just directed at Harold or what. But they shouldn't be better, but they are. So I think it 100% falls on the Young Bucks, what they are willing to do and forgive and forget and live and let live. At the end of the day, if it benefits both products, why the hell not? We're seeing Impact do that, where it's, Kenny has a matchup on pay-per-view, I think, coming up later on this month, maybe next weekend, with Impact. I don't know if the ratings have held or not, and maybe the pay-per-view gets more buy rates, maybe it doesn't. But at the end of the day, they still, their name's in a lot more people's mouth right now than what they would be otherwise. So I think as long as the agreement benefits both parties, I could see that being something. I don't know that we'll see it in 2021. Let me put it to you like that. I think we may see some seeds, but it really depends on how New Japan treats guys like Jericho and Moxley, who were in New Japan for a cup of coffee before they went to All Elite.
That's true, but like Jericho admittedly was over in New Japan, and he said it wasn't like he was there to be sign a long-term contract with them. It was there because he wanted to do it, and the opportunity presented itself. So I mean, I can't really see, and they treated him great too. I can't see Jericho having any kind of sour feelings. In the Bucks, I don't know, maybe that's just their personality. I just think that it's fun to think about the idea of of that happening, because it would be a big deal, because they already had that shocker with Impact. And now, if they could, with one of the huge promotions across the world, making this global, like, that's the thing, is they're doing a good job of getting the demographics here in America and doing it that way. But to reach further throughout the world, I think is something that's, big moves. So I guess
I think Jericho will. Sorry, go ahead.
No. After you. You go ahead.
I think Jericho would probably help that a lot. He had from what I understand, and I'm sure people correct me if I'm wrong. Earlier in his career, he wrestled a lot in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that probably that wasn't for New Japan Pro Wrestling, of course. But
I believe it was actually.
Oh, was it?
He actually came through a dojo. I think he came through an American New Japan, and it's been a while since I've read A Lion's Tale, which is a good read, by the way, if you're a Jericho fan. But I think he came through an American NJPW dojo before they really started doing that. Maybe it was a Japanese one. I don't recall. But yeah, I think he was in New Japan Pro Wrestling at the start of his career.
So he's had a lot of experience wrestling in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
So I imagine for someone with the caliber of Chris Jericho, he could go over there now, and it would be just like riding a bike for him. He'd go over there now, and whatever the differences are between wrestling in America and wrestling in Japan, 5 minutes in, I'm confident he's picked it right back up, and he knows exactly what he needs to do to elicit whatever reaction he wants to get. So for him, I think if AEW did branch out, Jericho would be a very smart play, because he's been there, he's done it, he knows how to handle it, he knows what to do, he knows how the fans are different there than they are here. I think he would be a phenomenal ambassador to go back and forth between AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. That would make a whole lot of sense to me.
It would, and so would Moxley. I think Moxley would be another good one.
I mean,
he have a lot of experience in Japan as well. I haven't followed him.
He's the current IWGP US champion. Which is the New Japan. I don't know why they call it so the IWGP is International Grand Wrestling Prix. IWGP, International Wrestling Grand Prix. I don't know how that correlates to New Japan, but that's just what they call their titles, the IWGP. But he's their current United States champion. So he's a two-time championship holder. Last time they stripped him of the title because of the volcanic thing when all the ash erupted. He couldn't come and defend his title. But they didn't strip him this time. I don't know why. Who knows? But yes, I believe that Jericho and Moxley will be voices, the angels on the shoulder, saying, hey, guys, let's do this. If for no other reason, then I think that Jericho and Moxley can make some serious fucking coin working in Japan.
Oh, for sure. Oh, my God.
They're making big money. So why would they not be like, hey, let's keep doing this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As far as I know, AEW has given both of them the lenience to say, hey, if you guys want to work in New Japan, that's fine. But on American soil, you work for, AEW only.
And I really think that if that became a more prevalent thing in wrestling, I really do. If that became a more prevalent thing in wrestling, period, then I think wrestling as a whole would do a lot better. Now, on the other hand, you could argue that it would make things really convoluted story-wise, because you could have someone who's a rock star in their home promotion, and then over in Japan or over in the UK or somewhere else, they might be a chump. Now that's just thinking about both sides of the coin. But I really think in the next year or two, maybe over this next decade, we're going to see a lot of changes in wrestling as a whole. Like, well, I really do.
To be fair, it's not like NXT is not doing that. They work with Evolve all the fucking time.
But isn't
they show Evolve stuff on the network and what?
Isn't Evolve under the WWE umbrella, though? Like, I mean...
No. Former Ring of Honor owner Gabe Sapolsky owns it, as far as I know.
Really?
Yeah. WWE does not own Evolve. They just, they've... I think that they recognize... so, I think that there are some in WWE. Let me preface my statement with that. I think there are some in WWE that recognize that there's a big focus on indie-style wrestling. That's why indie-style wrestlers are going over more and more and getting over more and more. And I think that they said, okay, well, what's a good indie promotion that we can get behind? And obviously, everybody thinks Ring of Honor, but realistically, like, once and from all accounts that I've heard, Gabe Sapolsky is not the best dude in the world. But when he was running Ring of Honor, it was kind of a big fucking deal. And he moved to Evolve after he was done with Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has had their moments, but I don't think that they've ever seen the success that they had under Gabe. Guys like, and I don't know when Gabe's reign exactly began. I think it goes back to the days of, the golden years of Ring of Honor, which was guys like Joe and Punk and Styles
and Brian
and Christopher Daniels and Kazarian, guys like that who really, really could put on a great show. And again, nothing against the Ring of Honor that we get now. It's a good show. It's perfectly serviceable, but it ain't the same.
Oh no, and certainly not.
I think that they're probably the biggest, the people suffering the most right now, because they had, prior to AEW becoming a thing, New Japan and Ring of Honor were really in cahoots. They were really in bed.
Oh, very yeah.
To the point where the Bullet Club was in both Ring of Honor and AEW. Cody Rhodes held, I think, a Ring of Honor championship and wrestled in New Japan. So like, they had a double card at Madison Square Garden WrestleMania weekend 2 years ago.
That was an awesome show, by the way.
But Ring of Honor said yes to that show under the understanding that they'd have Kenny and the Bucks and Hangman, that they'd have the Elite. And when that show came to fruition, the Elite were already putting AEW together. So Ring of Honor went, hey, wait. Not that Okada's not great, but people aren't going to turn him normal. So you're going to get fans from Okada for sure. But like normal everyday people aren't going to be like, oh, hey, Ring of Honor New Japan event tonight, Okada's wrestling. You're not going to get the same clout as you would with the Elite. So I think that really soured that relationship very quickly. But by all accounts, Harold Midge, or however the fuck you pronounce his last name, really shit the bed hard. Between the Ring of Honor deal falling through, letting the Elite walk away, and losing the Access TV deal, like, Harold shit the bed real hard for New Japan. And like, It's funny because 3 years ago he came out and said, I think it was just before Kenny's big title win, that they were going to be working to make New Japan in the United States a thing. And like they had big plans, and he just screwed the pooch by letting the wrong people walk away.
Well, and I mean, I think that's something that might have been symptomatic of the fact that, like, when that deal was, when that was all put in place, it was all because it was assumed that it's like, oh yeah, they'll do it, and then AEW was, kind of started taking form, and that was like an unseen thing when the deal was originally made. You know what I mean? I have altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it further. Like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have a
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, after you.
It's not on Ring of Honor. So if you're going to continue down that, please go ahead, because I don't want to derail anything.
No, that was I think it was one of those things that was wrong place, wrong time, and everything that happened after that was handled poorly. That's really all I was going to say.
Real quick on Sapolsky. In 2002, Sapolsky founded Ring of Honor, and he left in 2008, which means he would have been there for all the good stuff. And then in 2009, he announced Dragon Gate USA and Evolve. So yes, basically old Ring of Honor is to Gabe Sapolsky as like ECW was to Paul Heyman.
About right. I mean, yeah. Ransom, what was your question?
So what was my question?
Sorry, Ransom, I derailed you. I've ruined it, damn it, I've ruined it.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
And we're back.
And we're back. So I have two questions that surround Evolve. So one, their relationship with WWE, does that extend to NXT only, or does that go further into the main roster?
I right now it just seems like it's within the NXT bubble, at least to me. I could be wrong. There could be things I don't know about, but it seems like it right now at the moment it's just within the NXT bubble.
I think that they can pretty much pull who they want to at this point. They basically took Austin Theory, who was Evolve's top guy, and they basically stole him to the main roster and then back to NXT. So I believe that they're kind of a feeder system. I think it's an unwritten rule. So WWE purchased some Evolve events. I'm kind of trying to get caught up here. This is from July, but yeah, they bought some Evolve events. But yeah, I mean, these are some of the names that were in Evolve that Apollo Crews, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Oni Lorcan, Brodie Lee, Johnny Gargano, etc. So, and it looks like they may not be doing anything in COVID times right now. But yeah, so I mean, they've made a big. They've had some big workers come through, and I think that's why WWE wants to foster a working relationship with them, so that they can basically have a feeder system to NXT, which is then a feeder system to the main roster. So to answer your question, Ransom, I believe it's probably just to NXT right now, so that they can basically put the shine on, so that they can WWE style them and then get them prepared for WWE.
Well, and then it even goes even further, because wasn't Flash Morgan Webster with Evolve?
I don't know. I don't know that question.
I'm pretty sure it was either Evolve or Progress. So I mean, you're seeing a lot of those guys too go to NXT UK, which, by the way, if anybody's not watching NXT UK, it's really good. Like, NXT UK is a lot of fun. And there's guys that you see that I think could be absolutely awesome in NXT America, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Ilya Dragunov. Like, Ilya Dragunov is ridiculous. He's so good. And of course, you have the people like Walter and You see the guys from Imperium over there already, and they've done, crossover stuff. But then there's even like Gallus. Like we could see the guys from Gallus come over. I mentioned Flash Morgan Webster. He's another great one that would be good to come over. And of course, WWE having a lock on some of the best women's roster in the world, no matter what brand.
Yeah.
I mean, you just kind of have that. And speaking of NXT, and we mentioned, who was it you mentioned who was in Evolve and got pulled over?
Austin Theory.
Austin Theory. I'm loving the way. I'm absolutely loving the way. And I lost my friggin' mind. I lost my friggin' mind whenever Austin Theory was standing there with the jar of protein that said "The Way" on it. I thought it was hilarious.
I just a real quick touch on Evolve. I think you said yes. According to Wikipedia, July 2nd, 2020, WWE did purchase Evolve Wrestling. They basically went out of business because of the pandemic and sold everything to WWE at that point. So at this point, it would be WWE would own Evolve. Another pandemic casualty, as it were. But yeah, I mean, I think that now that that's happened, I think the door is open for further, and Triple H has said as much. Triple H has said, hey, we are not opposed to working with people if it benefits both sides. The problem is that it takes a lot for WWE to benefit from an independent wrestling organization. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For them to view an equal trade. Whereas AEW and Impact and AEW and New Japan, and even to an extent AEW and Ring of Honor or MLW, NWA, they could all, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And AEW at this point is kind of like a big dog too, to where they got to be like, okay, but we need to get something big on our side. But, that notwithstanding, like, they all are going to benefit more or less equally, whereas WWE, being a global phenomenon, has to be like, all right, if we're going to say, yeah, we're going to put your piddly little show on, and that's a Vince McMahon thing, we're going to put your piddly little show on my network, you better be, giving me the next fucking Steve Austin or something like that,
Oh, wow. Oh, jeez. Hey, we're going
to...
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, after you.
It seems like the relationship that AEW is fostering with these other promotions is more of a, oh boy, I had the word and then I lost it. Balls deep.
Symbiotic.
More of a...
I'm going to make that my ringtone.
Yeah.
Balls deep and then the burp.
It seems like the relationships that AEW are trying to cultivate are more partnerships, whereas it sounds almost like what WWE wants isn't a partnership, but more along the lines of, well, if we're going to feature you, or if we're going to let our guys go and do something with you, you better be you're going to be expected to give us someone good. Now, like you said, Triple H has said, well, we're not opposed to it. We're open to it, but it's got to be the right thing, blah, blah, blah. How much of that is just lip service answers to, hey, AEW is doing this, whether it's from the stockholders, shareholders, whoever, general public. AEW is doing this. Are you guys thinking about doing this? Because it seems like it might be an idea. Is Triple H's answer of, well, we're open to it as long as it makes sense for both companies? Is that just lip service, really, at this point? Because let's face it, sure, WWE is a global brand. So it's not like saying, well, if we're going to do something with New Japan, that's going to get us to the New Japan market. They're already global, WWE. But doesn't it seem like their product has become stale over the past however many months, years?
Decades.
Yeah, decades.
Thousands of years ago.
You should have brought in a snack. Wouldn't a partnership with one of these other companies be less of a, well, you better feed us somebody, and more of a, okay, we understand that we're already global, yes, but if our guys go here and show up there, maybe one of your guys come here, show up here, wouldn't that make things less stale for WWE as opposed to our brand's not going to rise up money-wise, but it might rise up as far as, oh, this is new, this is exciting, this is interesting.
Beef, may I? May I?
I had an analogy, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. What's your analogy?
So, imagine a car swap, okay? I know you're not a car guy, so I'm gonna keep it high level because I'm not a car guy either. But like a car swap, okay? So, you're driving a Corvette, and somebody is driving a Corvette of equal value, maybe an older model, maybe you have a new model, and you're like, hey, I want to see how the other side is. Let's swap for a week. And the other guy's like, yeah, sure, that's cool. Equal value, that's kind of what AEW and Impact are doing, AEW and anybody else. They're swapping equal goods. WWE would be like showing up in a fucking Rolls Royce and somebody showing up in like a 1998 Plymouth Acclaim, and they're like, hey, let's swap cars, and WWE's like, not so much.
And
See, I understand your analogy there, but if I'm going to put it in car terms, I feel like it's more of a, hey, WWE is an American muscle car. These are the cars that you can get in America. These are the cars that Americans drive. The Chargers, the Challengers, the Corvettes. These are the American muscle cars. We're going to do, a partnership with New Japan, and we're going to get a car that you can't get in America. We're going to get a Nissan Skyline. They don't make those here. You can't. You have to buy one and import it from Japan. So I think it's less of a, hey, this is a Corvette and this is a 1992 Cutlass Supreme. It's more of a, this is an American muscle car. This is a Japanese Nissan Skyline. You can't get this in America. So let's do this partnership to where, hey, now Japan is getting to see some of these American muscle cars. They're getting to see the Corvettes, but America is going to be able to see this is a right-hand drive Nissan Skyline. Look at this. This is interesting.
How fucking dare you use my own analogy against me, you bastard? And so well done too, you fucking prick.
I apologize.
You smug bastard.
I don't have some crazy car analogy other than gear shifters. Am I right?
Put your finger out of your ass.
Clutches and wheels. My point here is, and I know this has already been made, but to kind of simplify, but geez, both of you take a breath. Calm down. I can't do that. I wish I could. That just tickles me every time. How about some beef?
Clutches and wheels.
Clutches and wheels. The
rotors and brake pads.
Fuzzy dice. My
sun visor hanging from my rearview mirror. Fast and the Furious.
Cargo vroom. The
drifting. I'm sorry, this is derailed. What were you going on about?
My point without any kind
of really salient point, and we really fucking pile driver this one.
Oh my god! Oh, there's a new adjective. Oh, we done pile drivered this one, boys. So my point was, and it's a much more simple analogy. It's what you guys said. Like, the problem is too, if you look at it, and let's say Seth Rollins shows up in some podunk nowhere smaller group in, we'll say, the UK. It's a big deal. It's like when Balor did that with his local promotion. You remember he did that? I can't remember where it was he went, but he went back and it was this huge deal, like Finn Balor's here. And if that happens, it's a big deal and it's noteworthy. But if their top star unless he has a lot of serious rumblings on the independent scene and people are hearing about him from, Facebook groups and trade sheets and like videos are going viral and he shows up, the announcers are going to have to put this guy or gal over as this big shot from a promotion that 90% of the audience has never heard of. And they're going to have to make him a big deal. Now, most of the time, those keynote kind of stars can come into NXT, WWE, or whatever, that ecosystem, and put on a show and put on a match that will show their strengths and will show what they can do and get more eyes on that product, and it will grow them. But for WWE, it's like that you can't really bill it. Like for them, it doesn't do anything. It really is because they're at the level they're at. It would have to be something astronomically big to have it benefit WWE in any way, other than making them look altruistic, which WWE does not care about looking altruistic. Yeah. So that's kind of the problem.
And further extrapolating, it'd be like getting a Skyline and then just absolutely tearing the fucking transmission out of it because I don't know how to stick, says the man who doesn't know how to stick.
Just fucking with the stick. You heard it here first.
Well, I mean, I'm anyway. So like that's because as we've seen, as has been the case, and as is their want, no matter how successful an indie style star seems to be on NXT's level, once they get to the main brand, WWE, and more importantly, Vince McMahon is like, fuck that, you're going to wrestle this way. And you're like, Vince, I do the best job in the world wrestling this way. He's going to be like, fuck that, you do it my way or you're jobber bait.
See, that's where I feel like if this is going to be promotion to promotion, it needs to be a partnership. It can't be like, well, send Okada over here to SmackDown and we'll WWE him. It needs to be more of a partnership to where it goes, okay, this AEW guy is going to New Japan. We're not going to expect him to New Japan himself.
Well,
we're going to expect an AEW guy to put on a good match against a New Japan guy. And that's going to be something that WWE, I don't think, will ever be able to do because they're going to want whoever shows up on their show to become WWE'd.
Well,
they're going to want them to wrestle the WWE way, the WWE style. And let's face it, we've seen it time and time again. The most egregious of which I still believe fervently is Triple H versus Sting. If someone is going to come into WWE, if they're going to go against a top guy, a Seth Rollins, a Triple H, God forbid. Nothing against him, but let's face it, he's going to go over. A Brock Lesnar, whoever. If they're going to come over, if we're going to have a New Japan or Ring of Honor, pick your promotion guy, come to WWE and go against one of WWE's top guys, it's going to be WWE guy goes over clean or nothing.
Now, and
if it's, sorry, if it's, I'm not finished. I'm going to pull a beat.
I'm not finished.
If it's going to be, like a New Japan guy coming in against, say, a Big E or a Keith Lee, okay, you might have that New Japan guy go over. But mark my words, they're going to be WWE'd, absolutely. And if they ever go against a top WWE guy, you're never going to get a clean win over your top WWE guys.
Well,
it just won't happen.
You're also using Okada as the example. I don't think it's the same because if Okada came to WWE, I feel like that's a bigger deal than because New Japan has really stepped into the worldwide wrestling zeitgeist. More so, at least here in America, to the casual fan, they've heard of New Japan wrestling because of guys like, like a lot of the NXT guys, guys like, I know he wasn't there, but Keith Lee, but seeing like the Viking Raiders, looking back and seeing their history, Adam Cole, the Bullet Club, like, etc. Like, people know more about it, and they more than likely have heard the name of Okada. So if Okada came over, I think that would be a little bit different. I think they would treat him a little bit differently. I really do. If he was going up against someone, well, I mean, to be fair, though, and I understand they're not really analogous here, but to prove Ransom's point, what he said was Sting, look what they did with DDP. You know, I know DDP and
wrecked this character, gave him a completely new gimmick, and then pushed him aside.
Yep.
Yeah.
And but I don't think that would happen if Okada was a one-off. I was just using.
I didn't specifically. I don't think mean Okada. He was the only one that I could think of by name.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Like, I mean, now if I could see them doing that with someone like Evil. I could. Unfortunately, I could see them doing that with. I mean, geez, y'all think about how bad they would.
Sonata was actually a very hot name last year. Pre-pandemic, summer, fall of 2019.
Yeah.
Sonata was a very hot name that I kept hearing was very close to coming to WWE. And he's one of my favorites, and I love seeing Sonata wrestle. He's got a super chill gimmick, and he's great in the ring. But I keep coming back to how the independents and like people not made by WWE end up. And even fucking Kushida, like the absolute best junior heavyweight in the world at the time that he came to WWE, with very little disputation. I guess Hiromu and Marty Scurll were in that, and Zack Sabre Jr. are in that conversation as well. But to me,
sure,
Kushida is like the guy, and he has completely faltered on NXT. It's very clear that they don't want him to be a part of the cruiserweight parcel, and that's fine. I'm down with that because I think that he transcends that. But at the same time, I don't think that he's really found his niche just yet. And it's been, a little over a year at this point. So
I think the reason I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think the reason that this is happening with Kushida is for two reasons. Number one, Triple H wanted him. Triple H saw the potential. Triple H made the offer, and Triple H went, I can make this guy a star. And at the end of the day, Triple H doesn't make the final calls over there. He just doesn't. Like, we have to relegate ourselves to the fact that everything in the WWE ecosystem goes through Vince McMahon. And you can dispute me on that, and I hope that I'm saying things and I'm talking out of my ass. But the other reason is, too, if it is the case, I think because of mixing with the injury and just other storylines that had to be done, and then COVID happening with no audiences there, I feel like Triple H might be keeping Kushida in his back pocket for something bigger whenever crowds are allowed to come back. But then again, if you let the fruit sit for long enough, it spoils.
That's true, but I also look at people like Shinsuke Nakamura, who, to be fair, has had a decent WWE run. Not as of late, but he has had a United States title, an Intercontinental title, several WWE title shots, a Royal Rumble win, tag team titles. He's done okay. Guys like War Machine, gals like Asuka, like Kairi Sane, and I guess we're going to see what happens with Toni Storm. But I just feel like from those people who have been more popular in that sector of the world, the other side of the world, as it were, it feels like they have a much tougher time finding their footing in WWE, whereas AEW seems to be even the fucking Good Brothers. AJ Styles is an anomaly because I think that outside of fucking Impact, who, they could apparently screw up a wet dream, AJ Styles is going to be a raging success everywhere he goes. And I think that there are guys like that, like Adam Cole, Bay, that will be that Finn Balor. Like there are guys and gals who will succeed no matter what you put them in. But for the most part, I think that people from that area have had the toughest time succeeding in WWE because of language barriers, because of wrestling style, and just because in Japan, it's a completely separate sport. Like they treat it like
a real like baseball,
like
they
baseball or soccer or football. Like they get, and like they're very reverent. They don't have these awful chants. They don't have like fired up crowds. They sit and respect, and they ooh and they ah and they clap when appropriate. So there's not a lot of like the crowd interaction. So like a lot of the things that the main roster has had to kind of unlearn in the Thunderdome, that's the kind of stuff that they would be bringing in from Japan. But at the same time, we all know that Thunderdome is temporary. There's no way that WWE continues Thunderdome the minute that the all clear is given and that we can get butts back in seats. They're going to be like, let's fucking bring them back. It would not shock me. Royal Rumble is very late this year. Royal Rumble's on January 31st. They're currently in Tropicana Field with the Thunderdome. It would not shock me to have them, because the last couple Royal Rumbles have been in baseball stadiums. It would not shock me to see them open up the arena and put socially distant fans in seats, being that we are still 4 weeks away, and that's, things are changing by the minute, obviously, with the fucking pandemic and everything else. But, like, if you watch, any modicum of football over the weekend, there were fans in many of the games. Socially distanced in pods, and even AEW has done that, to where they're getting, I think they had a crowd of a couple thousand at the Brodie Lee Memorial Show. Set up in pods, socially distant. So I think that WWE is kind of hedging their bets, biding their time, but that's another rant. My point is that those, but in AEW, they're more likely to see success because those guys came from Japan. Those guys know the style, and in AEW, a lot of that is the same style, to where they will have the same style of matches. So I think that they're set up for success more so in Japan, or more so in AEW than they would be in WWE, with coming from Japan.
Whoa. That was incredibly insightful and just going for it. Like, I feel like Beef, I feel like you're letting a lot out. I feel like you're letting a lot out on this one. Like, you've had pent up wrestling news and discussion. You know what I mean?
And I mean, like, it's been a great sporting weekend. Like, yeah, the Steelers lost today. That sucks. But in them losing, they have a better chance at winning the wild card game next week. The Buckeyes won on Friday night, so they're going to the Natty. And I have some, we have some great fucking wrestling on tap this week. Wrestle Kingdom, 2 days, man. 2 fucking great main events. Fucking Ospreay versus Okada on night 1. There's so much I can't wait for.
Ospreay, Okada. What's the stable that Ospreay is working with now? What are they called?
I forget their name.
It's a really good name, though.
Yeah, it's Ospreay, B. Presley, Jeff Cobb, and Great O'Khan. Great O'Khan is awesome. Like, he comes out in like what are those fucking bad guys in Breath of the Wild called, with the fucking like question mark masks? It's a traditional. I want to say it's Chinese. I'm not sure, and I hope that I'm not offending anybody's culture by not being sure. But it's a traditional like caricature like that. But the dude's a big fucking hoss. He's like 6'8", 6'9", very agile. I'm talking like Lance Archer, Undertaker style, very agile big dude who can fucking work. He's facing Tanahashi, so I'm fucking real amped about that. But he's in that stable as well. Wrestle Kingdom's gonna be off the fucking hook. It was great last year. It's going to be great this year. New Year's Evil is on Wednesday. That's going to be a fucking baller show too.
We should have done picks for that.
I thought about it, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can. I mean, we'll have to phone him in.
I was gonna say you want to let Tom have his little belt for a while.
Maybe we'll see. And then we also have on Wednesday night one of the AEW New Year's Smash, headlined by the AEW title being defended between Kenny Omega and Rey Fenix, which is sure to be a fucking
that's gonna be a barn burner.
You know that guys like Balor and O'Reilly and Omega and Phoenix are going to be watching Wrestle Kingdom, watching guys like Ospreay and Okada go ham, watching guys like Kota Ibushi and Naito go absolutely insane, and they're going to say, we have to fucking top this on Wednesday night, and they may just do it.
I think they will. I don't think there's a doubt.
It's an insane week of wrestling coming up. This is one of those... This is a unicorn in wrestling where you get – this is like that weekend last year where there was NXT on Friday or Saturday. I don't remember. NXT UK the next day, AEW All Out like that night, and then a WWE pay-per-view on Sunday where there were like just 4 great cards in the span of like 48 hours. So these don't come around often, but they are becoming more and more frequent, so that's exciting. But nonetheless,
real quick, one last piece. I was going to say we still got to stump the champs. We do have to do that.
I have one question for you guys before we jump to anything else, and this is just a one-word answer. We're 4 weeks away. Royal Rumble season is here. In the all too early betting, who do you guys got as your men's Royal Rumble winner? Don't feel tied to this when we do our actual picks. I just want to know who you're thinking right now.
Ransom, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one because I got to think.
Again, Beef, I don't know why, but I'll say either, and I can't narrow it down to one, so I'm going to give you 2, Styles or Lesnar.
Rule breaker. Your reign of terror, that man, lawbreaker.
Okay.
I am, and I hate myself, Goldberg.
Wow. Hold on for a second.
No, wait. Lambaste him in a second. I'm going to let you load up your lambaster. The ones that I have been kicking around was Edge, reportedly. That's the long shot one that's in my head. Styles was another one that I thought of. Lesnar, I thought Lesnar, but I don't know what's going on with that. The other one that I was kicking around, actually, I got to agree with Beef. So now the reason I said to load up your lambaster was Goldberg.
So this really isn't a lambasting. It's just, I need you to explain this away for me.
So I've actually been ruminating on it.
Hold on. I'm not finished.
How dare you?
I don't. Well, I'm stealing your catchphrase.
You bastard! It's the second time. First you used my own analogy against me. Now you use my own catchphrase against me. You fuck. Go on.
To me,
you son of a bitch.
You fucking did it. All right. What was I going to say? Oh, so I need you to explain this away to me here for a second. Now, okay, hold on. I might stroke out here. Hold on.
I hear it happening.
Yeah, it's coming. I know it is. So just the clot is moving swiftly to my brain.
I got to cool down. I got some ice in here.
Ransom watch 21.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the first 2021 casualty. Let's go. I get it. Like I can. If it happens, I'm not surprised. One, if he's not in the Rumble, I would be surprised. If he wins the Rumble, I'm not surprised. However, if we're going to go back and see, I need you to reference Goldberg versus Taker. I need you to reference Goldberg versus Fiend. And even going back to reference Goldberg versus Lesnar. you know, this is going to be a Royal Rumble win. He appears less than a handful of times on TV between Rumble and Mania. He beats some poor schmuck, probably McIntyre, because he's not going to beat Reigns. If he did, what a travesty. So he's going to beat McIntyre at Mania. He's going to hold the belt for a month until the next pay-per-view. He's going to drop it, and he's going to leave. What does this do for WWE? Whoever he beats, it's going to delegitimize. I'm sorry. I understand everybody gets a boner for the Fiend. Hang on. I get it. I understand. The Fiend is everybody's wet dream. But when he lost clean to Goldberg, that delegitimized the Fiend for me. Don't worry about him getting set on fire by Orton. Orton needed the rub. He's an up-and-comer. But that delegitimized the Fiend for me. Whoever Goldberg beats...
What are you fapping over there for?
He's biding his time. Whoever Goldberg beats, I feel like it's going to delegitimize them. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter how hot of a streak they're on. It doesn't matter how far they've risen and how long they've been on top. It's going to delegitimize them. Just to have Goldberg drop that title 1 month later at the next pay-per-view, because you know he's not going to be back for the long haul, good Lord, the roster wouldn't be able to suffer those many injuries. So what does that do for anybody? It might do something for WWE's bottom line at the moment, but long term, what does that do? It does nothing but hurt the talent and especially the people that he's going to wind up injuring. So I need you to explain to me why WWE, knowing full well what they're getting into, would look back and go, hey, this right here, boys, this is what we got to do. All right. This is going to pave the way for the future. Explain this to me.
All right, but Beef, I know you've been holding in here, but just one more second. I'm going to throw this idea out.
So winded.
I think right now, because people have seen what Goldberg has wrought the last couple times he's come back, I feel like whoever loses to him would not be as delegitimized as you think. Sure. I think the veil has been either thinned or pulled back on Goldberg and his jackassery that he pulls in the ring, and the fact that he doesn't work on his in-ring conditioning to the point where he blows up worse than Lesnar did at his worst, and he drops people on their head, and he puts on garbage matches. The only way that you're going to pull a good match out of Goldberg is, number one, if he decides to work with someone, or if you have him in the ring with someone like AJ Styles. So here's the problem. Here's the thing I'm saying. I don't think whoever loses to him is going to be delegitimized, because people see through that. And if they don't see through that, they're dumb and deserve to be taken. They're the type of people that get grifted by someone in a checkerboard suit, leaning against a light post, chewing on a toothpick, flipping a coin, saying, boy, have I got a deal for you. So, they deserve to get taken. And that's the problem, is that WWE, after the last Goldberg debacle, should have seen the fact that they made a quick buck, and then there was a downturn after the fact. Stop rustling over there. I'm almost done. It kind of, that's the thing for me, is that I think the bulk of people are over the Goldberg thing. It was kind of a big deal, then it was less of a big deal. Now it's not gonna be much. Beef, tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong. To be fair, so there are a couple places that I really want to start, but let's start at the beginning. So first of all, Poop, you talked about the guy in the checkerboard suit leaning against the wall with toothpick in his mouth, looking for people, the same people that corny folk look for, and they go, oh, hey, look, here comes another What do they call those people, Poot?
Dumbasses.
What do they call them? Nope.
Mark.
When you're looking, yep, there it is. Mark. So, there's your answer, Fishbulb. The marks.
Wait, am I the fishbulb or are you the fishbulb?
I think we're both the fish. I'm the fish,
It's
you're
the
the bulb.
eponymous. The eponymous Fishbulb.
Okay.
So let's start at Goldberg's return to WWE. Let's ignore the business in 2002, 2003 because we know that didn't go well. Let's talk about his return. Since returning, Goldberg has beaten Lesnar in quick fashion, a squash, if you will. Eliminated Brock Lesnar from the Royal Rumble. Beaten Kevin Owens in a squash match for the Universal title. Has beaten The Fiend. And damn near beat The Undertaker. Now, and I understand that he's also lost to Lesnar and to Strowman. I get that. But if we're looking at purely, if you're looking, and again, I am kind of looking at this through the odds of a mark. If you're looking at from his return forward, that's a pretty fucking impressive resume. So, whenever you put that guy in the Royal Rumble and you have him win, it makes all the marks go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I remember Bill Goldberg from WCW when he beat everybody in the company 87 times. What a great wrestler he was. I remember that shirt at Kmart I bought. So, and yes, I 100% agree with the both of you. He sucks in the ring. He has sucked in the ring for a long time. He sucked in the ring in fucking 1998. He has no conditioning. He has no cardio. He has no love for the business. He has a love for money. I need to be careful with that line. But he does not understand wrestling. He does not understand the business. He understands the business of putting himself over, of which he is fucking great at. Exhibit A, the Fiend match, where he's like, hey, I know you don't want your top guy, Roman Reigns, beating the Fiend, who's kind of like an anti-hero. Have him beat me. It'll look good for everybody. And then everything went to shit. He's very good at politicking, and he's very good at getting his way. Unfortunately, whenever the marks continue to view him as a draw, and at this point, I value Lesnar as a draw. I think that when Lesnar's in town, it is a big fight feel. I don't feel the same way about Goldberg, but I know that there are those who do. Bring me to my point, the why. Why? Because whenever you build up that resume that I previously established, when you have him go out in the Royal Rumble like 26, 27 and take out guys like Keith Lee, guys like Edge, guys like Lesnar, who are honest-to-God Hall of Famers. All right, maybe not. Keith Lee's not there yet, but he will be. You then add another feather to his cap, only to have the head of the table dispose of him in such an unruly manner. I'm talking a Goldberg-style squash. I'm talking 2 minutes, 30 seconds max. I'm talking Goldberg's walk to the ring is longer than the match. And I'm talking Roman Reigns then gets the heat from the marks because everyone's like, oh man, Goldberg's so great. And then Reigns beats him, and they're like, oh my God, what a fucking jackass. Like that, he didn't deserve that, blah, blah, blah. And Reigns looks amazing on the other side of it. If it were me booking, there's no way in hell that I let Goldberg win the Royal Rumble. But you got to admit, the scenario that I just threw out there does make Reigns look like a bona fide badass and a future Hall of Famer.
Okay, so but my problem with this is
he won't win a WrestleMania. I'll tell you that right now. If he wins the Royal Rumble, he's not going to win a WrestleMania.
So okay, hold on now though. you just got done saying that he's a great politicker
Mm-hmm.
and he gets his way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the ego of Goldberg, do you think that ego is going to allow him to say, let me come back as a house of fire, let me win the Royal Rumble, and then just let me lose in dramatically quick fashion at Mania? There's no way. I can't. There's no way he would say okay to this. He would come back for the Rumble. He would demand and politic his way into winning some title at WrestleMania. Now, it might not be against Roman Reigns because, let's face it, that would be the ridiculous scenario. But, oh, pardon me. But he will politic his way
What was that? I'm sorry.
into winning a belt.
What was that burp? That sounded like beef going ree.
Well,
That was
Hey,
the
you know.
weirdest
It's gotta
burp
be.
ever. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about
Continue,
it.
but-
It's a stroke burp. Shut up.
Okay.
He's going to politic his way into winning a title at Mania. I can't see
Well-
the ego of Goldberg completely rolling over and going, let me win the Rumble. It'll be great. Marks. Let
Let me
get
tell you this.
destroyed by Roman Reigns in record time at WrestleMania. He's going to say, no, that's what I do. That's not what someone else does. This is what I do. And if you want me
last
to
year.
be there, you're going to have me win at WrestleMania.
He did it last year. He did the JOB to Strowman in record time. Here's the thing.
Yeah, he was the champ. Like, he had already won
It's
the belt.
true. It's true.
That's what I'm saying. My contention isn't that he'll lose or he'll lose in record fashion. I'm fine with that line of thinking. I think that will happen. My line of thinking is that his ego won't allow him to win at the Rumble and then lose unceremoniously without a title at WrestleMania. The only reason he's going to be willing to lose in that sort of fashion is because he's already regained a belt. He's already won a belt.
Here's
so
the
if he
thing.
wins at Mania and takes the belt from somebody, sure, after that he'll be like, okay, I got my Rumble payday, I got my Mania payday, I have another belt, I have another championship win. I don't care. I'll lose in record fashion. It don't matter. I don't think his ego is going to let him win the Rumble and then lose unceremoniously at WrestleMania without having a title. I don't see that happening. And that's what makes me mad.
So I think that Goldberg is a guy.
Oh,
I think that Goldberg's a guy who listens to his critics. I think that Goldberg's a guy that goes on Twitter and fires back at people. I have no evidence to support this, but I think that that's probably the case. That being said, I think
but
that
you just said he doesn't care about the business or the fans.
he doesn't. But
He cares about the money.
I think that he's petty enough to go at people. And I think that if you say to him something of the like of, hey, you'll win the Royal Rumble, which is something that Chris Jericho never did, I think that may give him enough of a twinkle in his eye to go, huh, really? I fucking hate Jericho. I don't know if there's legit heat on them or not, but I mean, I would imagine that there would be. That being said, it's all about the Benjamins. The Cleveland Browns, for the first time in 16 years, qualified for the playoffs today. 16 years is a long fucking time. That's like a person being born and learning to drive a car. So that said, who in their right mind over the last 16 years would sign on the dotted line to go to Cleveland, except to say, I'm about to get paid. Sometimes if you have your priorities, and you know what, I'm not somebody who's going to sit here and tell anybody their priorities are wrong. Because if you got to get paid, you get paid. You do you, boo. And if Goldberg's concern is the almighty dollar, which is what it feels like, this will be a big payday for him. And again, if we're being real, the Royal Rumble is a big deal to have won. AJ Styles may go out as a Hall of Famer in WWE without winning the Royal Rumble. As I mentioned, Chris Jericho, who I would be fucking shocked if he ever came back to WWE after AEW, has never won the Royal Rumble. There are a lot of people who are bona fide, honest to God. Randy Savage, I don't think ever won a Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble is something that happens once a year. It's not like a title that can change hands fucking 12 times in a year. The Royal Rumble happens one time a year. You have one shot to win a Royal Rumble a year. That puts your name in the annals of history. To me, I think that's more prestigious than the WWE title. And especially if you're Goldberg and you've won the world title and you've won the Universal title, I think the Royal Rumble would be something to put on your resume. But at the end of the day, it comes down to dollars and cents.
But what?
And if Vince says, here's a whole bunch, here's a bag with a dollar sign on it, you're gonna win the Royal Rumble, but we're gonna feed you to Roman Reigns.
What if? But hasn't Goldberg already been inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Yep.
Goldberg's already done. He's done. Like, I mean, you're basically taking another year away from someone who would be who it would behoove to have them win. And honestly, Styles, I'd love to see Styles be the one. But if you had someone like Goldberg or Edge, and I know that's heresy to say right now, but like if you had one of these guys who, and I'm not trying to be crass here to Edge, but like if you have these guys who just don't need it win, that's the problem with WWE, I think, on the whole, is that they're having these arguably historic, legendary things become vessels for them to make a quick buck versus something that we view historically as something very, very important. And that's a lot of the problem. So like, I think honestly, the scenario Beef has posed is one that is probably the most likely of all of them. And that makes me really sad, because that means from Rumble time until Mania, we're gonna have to deal with Goldberg. And then even after Mania, if things do go sideways and Goldberg says, no, I want that belt again, and you bury the heel persona of Roman Reigns, which would be so... it would be ridiculous.
I just got goosebumps because as talking heads, can you imagine how great our like post-Rumble pre-Mania shows would be if the rumors come out that Edge or that Goldberg is starting to negotiate another world title run?
Oh.
Like, I'm so excited about that, and I love what. Oh my God! Next fucking Sunday, get the fuck out of here.
Just relax.
Anyway,
All right, so hold on though. But listen, I have to put a little bit of an asterisk on what Beef said here. If we're to believe what we believe, which is Goldberg cares more about the dollar signs than he does about the business, the fans, the boys, whatever. What's going to be bigger to Goldberg dollar sign wise? Is it going to be a Royal Rumble win and a Mania loss? Or is it going to be a Royal Rumble win, a Mania win, and then another pay-per-view where he can drop the title in 3 minutes, shower, go home? Now I've got 3 giant stacks of cash. Because let's face it, when you're the champion, you get a bigger stack of cash than when you're not the champion.
This was never supposed to be a discussion, by the way. It just evolved.
Yeah, I gathered
That's fine. I don't care. But if his...
Ouch!
If his spotlight is on that dollar sign, Vince McMahon isn't going to pay him all the money for the Royal Rumble and then a loss at Mania. Goldberg would make more money with a Rumble win, a Mania win, and a title drop at the next pay-per-view. That's 3 giant sacks of cash. Do you think Goldberg is not going to campaign to walk away with 3 dump trucks full of money? When you think he's just going to say, well, I'll take 1.5 dump trucks full of money instead of 3. He's not going to do that.
We need to put this carafe of vitriol in the fridge because we are getting very long in the tooth, and I do want to do a Stump The Champs. So let's put a pin, let's plug it up, and put it in the Pittsburgh Piledriver fridge for a week or so. But I'll say this, as I'm putting the cork in and putting a little bow on it, if Roman Reigns loses to Goldberg at WrestleMania, that is the end of Roman Reigns' legitimacy to me.
Oh, worse.
But We will get to that. We will get to all the what ifs and the nightmare scenarios. And oh my God, I can't believe Goldberg's actually going to win the Royal Rumble next time. Now, let's do one of my favorite things of this podcast. Other than winning the Cruiserweight Championship, I love Stump the Champs. And
You mean the
I
champs?
love,
The champs.
yes, sorry, my bad. And I love when we can pull together as a team and absolutely rock these schmucks. So, we have one from our boy, the Mid-Card Maniac. It's been a busy holiday season, so, get your fucking questions in. pittsburghpiledriverpodcast@gmail.com. 2 emails, one with the question, one with the answer. Send them in. Mid-Card Maniac says, who, that was a weird way to say who are the 3 oldest people to ever win a championship in WWE, excluding the 24/7 title? This is any belt. And I believe, well, you know what? I was going to kind of pivot on our discussion and say Goldberg, but I don't think he's in that conversation just yet.
I think, honestly, wouldn't either Fabulous Moolah or Mae Young be up there? VKM?
To win a championship. So, the last time Vince won a title was back when he beat Bobby Lashley for the
ECW belt.
ECW belt. And that was damn near 20 years ago. How old was he now? He's like 80, so put him in like the 60s. Hogan, I'm fairly certain that Hogan's run where he came back and he won the Undisputed title and had a tag team title run with Edge thereafter. I think he was well into his 60s during that run. And I gotta believe that Ric Flair has to be in that conversation. Your guess with Moolah and Mae Young is probably not a bad one.
I think Moolah, I honestly think Moolah, because she was around whenever it was the women's belt where it looked like it was like scratched up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the one that like Sable held and all that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they won that title though. I don't think Moolah or Mae. Oh, but they probably did win the hardcore title. I think Mae Young won the hardcore title.
I really think Moolah held that belt. I don't
think so, man. I don't. Ransom, care to weigh in? Ransom. He's left us.
Ransom.
He left us.
No,
sorry,
he left us.
Sorry, I was muted. I had gone to pee and I didn't unmute myself.
Oh, okay.
What do you call on the Moolah winning the like women's title whenever it was like the cool looking women's title, like in the Attitude Era?
Oh Lord, I have no idea, to be honest.
I don't think she did, man. I really don't. But I'm fairly certain that one of the two of them did win the hardcore title, but I don't know which one.
Ooh.
The hardcore title, I think, is going to be.
Wait. Wasn't why am I?
Yes.
Was it there was a pay-per-view, and for some reason I want to say it's a No Way Out. Wasn't there a match between Briscoe and Pat Patterson that was for the hardcore belt? Wasn't it the one where they were like cross-dressing?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Or am I remembering that wrong?
Title. No, I don't remember that specific match, but I do believe that they would have won that specific title. And it just comes down to like their age frames. So when was Ric Flair's last championship run with WWE?
He was the Intercontinental title. Didn't he? Wasn't it when he won the Intercontinental title?
Was that his last one? I think the tag team titles may have been after that, or at least during that. And that would have been pre-WrestleMania 24 because that's whenever he was beaten by Michaels. Does anybody know how old Ric Flair is today?
He's gotta be
I don't want to go looking at I don't want to go looking at something like that because Maniac will yell and scream and I would say
he's in his 80s.
He's not in his 80s.
I was going to say mid 70s.
Yeah, he's in his. I want to say early to mid 70s. I want to say definitely no older than 74.
Okay, so if we take that, so if we punch the clock back, because that was his tag team title reign and Intercontinental title reign was during like WrestleMania 20, 21. That in 21 he was a manager by that point. So, fuck. So 20 would have been, oh god, what WrestleMania are we on? 37 coming up. That would have been 17 years ago. That would have put Ric Flair at around 57. So I don't think he would be up there. Hogan, I'm fairly certain, won, if not the undisputed, definitely the tag team titles in his, I know he won those titles in the same run, and he was in his mid-60s when he did that. But I just don't know, how old Briscoe and Patterson were whenever they were feuding for the hardcore title, because there definitely was a lot of, slapdash, slapstick with those two, and I think they both were hardcore champions at one point.
And that's why I'm right now, from everything we're talking about, I'm sorry, Beef, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
You're good.
I honestly think right now my picks, it's either Pat Patterson or Gerald Briscoe, and I'm going to say Pat Patterson, Moolah, and McMahon. I think it's those three. Those are the three that I'm throwing out there. You guys can discuss and try and convince me otherwise or convince the group, but those are the three that I think are the case.
McMahon's in his late 70s, I think. So him winning the ECW from Lashley would have been about 14 years ago. So that would put him in the same boat as Ric Flair of being in his 50s, which I don't think would count towards that.
I think Flair is younger than McMahon, though.
Not by much.
Not by much, but he's still younger. It doesn't matter if it's by an inch or by a mile. He's younger than McMahon. That's why I'm standing my ground on the McMahon thing versus going over.
I don't think McMahon's there. I think Hogan. I really believe that Hogan is one of them.
I don't, man. Hogan's younger than McMahon.
Right, but his title run came. God, let me think of the title. The run on that.
Think about while you're doing that. Think about McMahon. Think about
Hogan's older than McMahon.
I know. Well, no, he's not.
Hogan, he is.
No.
I think so.
No way. No way.
I really want to look up these people's ages because I think that would be key. And I don't think that that's cheating, but I also don't want to be a fucking, Rollmeister either.
I'm telling you, man, when I don't remember Hogan. I don't remember Hogan winning. Did he win big when he came back for his runs?
Yeah, he won the undisputed title that Brock Lesnar had. The undisputed title, the best looking title that WWE has ever had in my mind. He won that. He beat Undertaker for it, and I think he lost to Triple H.
Dude,
he beat Triple H and lost Undertaker. One of the two.
I really, really think
he beat Triple H.
I really think that McMahon is older than Hogan. I'm
I don't
telling
think
you.
so.
He is. Yeah.
McMahon is, okay.
Yeah, somebody had a talk before about people's ages, Flair, Hogan, all these old guys. And it came up that McMahon looks a lot better than Hogan. At the time we had this discussion, and we wound up looking it up. And McMahon's not quite 10 years older than Hogan, but he's close. He's
wow.
He's 7 or 8 years older than Hogan, I believe.
Okay. Then I back off because they debuted that title, I think, in 2000, 2001 or so, and Hogan would have won it in its infancy. So that would have been 20 years ago, which would have been pre-McMahon so McMahon may be up there.
I really think I'm going. Well,
And Patterson is older than Briscoe, so I would definitely go Patterson.
Patterson.
And I think that Mae Young Mae Young was the older of the two ladies.
Yeah, but Moolah was the one who won the belt. Mae Young very rarely wrestled.
Mae Young won the hardcore title. I'm fairly certain of this.
I know, but again,
I think I'd actually be like Harvey Whippleman for it.
Dude, I'm normally you are my go-to guy for this kind of stuff and everything, but I really feel like it is McMahon, Patterson, and Moolah. I really do.
All right, let's pause the brakes here for a second. I want
gears and wheels.
I want to corroborate Moolah because she won. If I can remember right. Hang on. Her last title run was the women's title in '99. And I'm fairly certain she would have been in her 70s at that point. Probably not 80s, and I don't think she was still in her 60s.
So maybe she did win in the Attitude Era.
80. She won in, I think, 98 or 99.
I don't remember her ever
won the women's title.
That's insane. I don't remember that. I feel like I would have been way more pissed off about it, but I guess the women's title at that point was very laughable. So
that's what I'm saying, man. It's like
But wasn't Mae Young older than Moolah though?
I don't think Mae Young.
She never won the women's title
as a hardcore champion though either.
You don't think so? Okay.
Look, that doesn't mean anything. I just don't remember. I think Moolah, yes, because I think she was ancient in the Attitude Era when she won the women's title, and I vaguely remember that happening.
You're my Attitude Era guy, so if you're saying it happened, I believe you. I don't remember it, but I didn't become a big women's fanatic until like the mid 2000s with like Melina and Mickey and that. Troop.
All right.
Natty and such.
So, are we saying
McMahon, Patterson, and Moolah?
All right.
So McMahon won his title.
Wait a minute. What about
McMahon? Would have been in his 50s when he won his title. Well, I guess that would have been the WWE Championship, not the ECW Championship.
Yeah, the ECW Championship, they were feuding on or around or after WrestleMania 2023, because that's whenever Trump backed Lashley and McMahon backed Umaga, and that's when Vince got his head shaved. It was WrestleMania 23, which would have been 13 years ago. So if Vince is as old as you are claiming him to be, mid-70s, we'll say, or maybe even late 70s, that would put him between the 13 years ago math
in his 60s. I think we have this one.
What about Bob Backlund when he beat Bret Hart? Before Diesel beat Backlund. Backlund was an old man.
I don't think he was that old.
He wasn't that old. He wasn't. He always.
60s? Okay.
Dude, even when he was in his 20s, he looked like he was dead. Like, I mean, he was in shape, but he always looked like an old man, even when he was young. Like,
I feel like we may be screwed because it may go back, to like the 70s and 80s. I feel like somebody in like that time frame was older and probably won the title that we're not thinking of, like a Bruno Sammartino or somebody like that.
I don't, man.
So I think McMahon, and I'm not very good with the ECW belt, even ECW and WWE, but I think McMahon's win for the ECW title was late 2000s, 2007, 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. So he would have been.
It was 13 years ago. So 2007.
He probably would have been in his early 60s when he won that belt.
Which puts him.
Moolah would have been in her 70s.
Right.
When she won the women's championship. And who was your last one, Poot?
Patterson.
Patterson.
With the hardcore title.
Pat freaking Patterson.
I don't know how old he was when he died earlier this year, and that's bad on me. I want to say he died fairly young, right? Like in his 70s?
Oh, I don't know.
And that would have been 20 plus years ago at this point.
I'm just saying,
So
man.
He may have only been in his 50s or so.
I know you're leaning on Flair. I don't.
No, I'm not. I've backed off Flair because you're right. He just looks a lot older than he is.
Did he say that we're not counting 24/7 championships?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, no, the 24/7 title. He did not say anything about the hardcore title.
Right, the 24/7 title is what I meant.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Okay. All right. So when did Patterson win
Would have been
the
Attitude Era.
hardcore belt?
99, 2000, 2001, sometime in that time frame.
Ooh, okay. So how old would that have put him at that point?
If he was in his 70s when he died, and I truly believe that he was, that would have put him in his 50s, which I don't think would get him up there.
So he and Briscoe were each hardcore champions, right?
Right, but I think Briscoe's younger than him.
So we're saying Briscoe is younger than Patterson.
Right, which disqualifies him. I really feel like Hogan was in his 60s when he won the title, but I can't validate that. I just feel like Hogan's last run. All right.
I don't think it's Hogan. Hogan's too obvious. I don't. I really don't.
So let's circle back. How old is Goldberg now?
Don't even put Goldberg. Goldberg's not in there. Goldberg's in his 50s. Goldberg's in his 50s, man.
What about Taker? No, Taker's not that old either.
Also, people are going to hear me hit my fold-out table. So I'm just like, I really feel like we have this one.
All right.
I do.
So you're saying that it's McMahon, Patterson, and Moolah.
I think it's McMahon, Patterson, Moolah.
All right. I feel like Hogan and Mae Young should be in that discussion as well. I just want it noted on air, but I am in agreement with you, Poot. I will go with you because you are so fervent. What about you, Ransom? What do you say?
I'm pretty set in stone on Moolah and McMahon. I'm not 100% on Patterson, but it makes sense. And I really can't think of anybody else who would have really been older. I don't think Hogan was older than Patterson when Hogan won his last title. Maybe not by much. I don't think it was Flair. I don't remember Mae Young winning the hardcore belt, but that doesn't mean anything.
Also, I'm going to throw this out.
I'm good on two. I'm okay with the third.
Also, if we're gonna lose our streak, it might as well be on the back of me, the ultimate failure. So, I mean,
wow, that's super hurtful.
You know,
good Lord.
Oh, I love you, Poot.
All right, I'm good with it.
All right, so McMahon, Patterson, Moolah. All right, this is on you, Poot. Poot, hope your computer doesn't go to hell this week. Would have loved to hear the answer to the other question. Anyway, Pat Patterson, 59 year, hardcore title. Vince McMahon, 61 year, ECW title. Fabulous Moolah, 76 year. Holy shit.
Suck my Bardic dick.
Poot, you had to pull me off the ledge on that one.
I did.
See, I'm going to heal up here a little bit. I've heard some of the knowledge that has been dropped on this podcast before. So to kind of give a little pat on the back to the Maniac, and this is a complete heal up here. I am not 100% certain that there was not some shenanigery in the finding of those answers. I don't know if those came from Wrinkly Brain Poot or if those came from Wrinkly Brain.
Listen, every time.
Just saying, I don't know.
Every time that you just pull random garbage out of your asshole, we never second guess you. Never.
Yeah, but I've done it so many times, though.
Okay.
And
sorry.
You have obviously admitted quite a few times that, there are some that just look. You don't have to defend yourself. I'm just saying.
To be fair, he was like, I was right there. Like we were we were vibing the same. I was just off on my 8 years. By the way, Vince McMahon is only 4 years older than Flair, and 8 years. No, bad math. 7 years. No, I'm right. 8 years older than Hulk Hogan. So had I known some of that information, I probably would have been on board.
I just remember because when McMahon won the ECW belt, it was like right at the beginning when it was like he was an old crotchety shitty man. He should not have still been in the ring. He should have not still been doing any of that kind of stuff because he was really getting on. I remember Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe feuding over that belt and having that hardcore, being in that hardcore scene, and there was no one else older than them in that hardcore scene. And then I remember when Fabulous Moolah won that belt, it was one time with that division at that time that I remember being confused as shit because you started having people that actually were in shape and good wrestlers like Jacqueline and Lita. You started seeing this start coming out, and then Fabulous Moolah holds the belt. And now knowing more, especially watching the dark side of the ring on the woman, you get why. So that's where the machinations came from. Thank you.
I just didn't know. I just did not.
No need to get hostile about it. There's no need to get, not like we're voting people off of the podcast, but we vote people out among us.
The only reason that I was not on Moolah is because I thought, I was like, there was no way. I just don't remember her winning the title. But yeah, she did win, obviously, win the title during that era. I mean, had I believed that was the case, yes, I was on her. But Mae Young did not hold the hardcore title. So
I did not mean to bite back there so hard. But
you can bite off whatever you want to bite off there. Like I said, you don't have to get hostile about it. We're not playing a game among us. If we were, you probably still would have gotten the vote. But at the end of the day, we got the thing done.
We did. And the thing is, talking about voting people off the podcast, guess who's never going to get on the podcast to get voted off? That's right, you maniac. That's right, you maniac. You want to talk about healing up? That's this guy.
Jeez,
I mean, that was a great question. I have not
getting real.
When I look at these Stump the Champs questions with you guys, and I don't pre-read them. I look at them with you guys the first time. So like there have been times like that fucking Brawl for All question. I'm like, this is it, we lose, and we didn't. This one I looked at, I'm like, I don't know, man. And then when we started faffing, and there was no like real clear like, yes, I know this for sure. I really thought he had us. So Maniac, you had me fooled, but unfortunately this is not Stump the Beef, it is Stump the Champs, which you did not do. You lose, sir.
Wow.
Good day.
You lose, sir. You stole fizzy lifting drinks.
We cannot, listen, we cannot begin to alienate the one true fan that we have. It's fun to rib every once in a while on the Maniac, that's fine, but we can't start alienating the one person who listens to this podcast on a regular basis. If we want to have 0 listeners, by all means, degrade the guy all you want. But look, I'm just saying, he's the one diehard fan we've got. We got to kiss a little ass every once in a while.
Ransom's getting paid by the Maniac, confirmed.
Hey, first off, how dare you? Secondly, Maniac, thank you for the $49.99. I did not share it with them.
Oftentimes, I like to think that Maniac is like our street team member. Yeah. I like to think of him wearing his P3 shirt out there, like with flyers, be like, "Hey, listen to the P3 podcast." And I know that he doesn't, but no, the way Maniac, we truly do appreciate you, buddy. And without your questions, Stump the Chumps wouldn't be near as fun. So
absolutely true.
Listen. Another thing too. It's very easy to get a big head about this, but mark my words. There's gonna come he's gonna get fed up, and there's gonna come a question where he's gonna go, you know what? Fuck these guys. I'm gonna look up something crazy that takes me 4 hours to find the answer to this question, and they'll never be able to think of it in 15 minutes on their dumb little podcast, and he's gonna murder us, and we're gonna have to eat all of these words very humble pie style.
The question, it's going to be some obscure question like my Gold Dust Trio question. You remember that?
Oh yeah, I will never forget that one.
The Gold Dust Trio was the worst.
That was a little much, but like but that's the thing is, like, joking aside, man, Beef, you know how I imagine him doing it? He's not standing on the corner going extra the P3 podcast, throwing out flyers and stuff. I imagine him like there's like a really nice dinner party. People are dressed in, you know, nice suits and there's nice music playing. He just walks into the middle of the crowd with his P3 shirt on and like jeans and just stands there staring into the void and just goes screaming, "Boy, that P3 podcast is really good, isn't it? I sure do love I love the questions." And people just stop and just like look at him, and he just stands there and then just turns and walks out.
Hey, speaking of which, do you know what they don't serve at a fancy dinner party?
What's that?
Burritos, which is where we should be going right about now.
All right, yeah, that's fair. We want to say thank you so much to the Maniac for his questions. And folks, again, if you want to send in your Stump the Champs questions to us, please do. Beef, you want to give us that email where people can send things?
It is, yes, but I do. It is pittsburghpiledriverpodcast at gmail.com. Again, that is pittsburghpiledriverpodcast. Hard to remember, I know. At gmail.com. 2 emails, one with the question, one with the answer. On the answer one, please insert some fuckery or some spaces or something so that the answer is not in the preview. Otherwise, I will fucking destroy you.
You got.
So listen, also, I want to up the ante a tidbit.
Oh boy.
So it's still on the table. If you stump the champs and you want to come on the show and do whatever you want. If you want to be on for the episode, fine. If you want to come on the episode, brag for 3 minutes and leave, fine. I'm going to up the ante and say, if you're tired of listening to my voice on a weekly basis, if you want to come on the podcast and say, guess what? I'm here this week to replace Ransom. Ransom, see yourself out. Fine. You can kick me off of my own show for a week if you stump the champs, if you so desire to do so, because you're tired of hearing the bullshit that spews out of my fucking cock holster.
Whoa. You know what? I'll double down on Ransom. I'll throw my spot out there for a week. I'll double down. I'll join you.
And just remember, folks, these 2 guys are the guys that I would get rid of on the podcast anyway. So if you do a good job, you could be their permanent replacement.
Oh,
yeah, and then it can be the Beef Driver Beefcast and have -8 viewers. It'll be wonderful.
People will take back
our own podcast. It'll be the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast Breaking Kayfabe Lounge, and it'll skyrocket because it won't be dominated by a 14-year-old girl with a shitty-ass microphone. Face.
Anyway, want to thank our sponsors one more time. On that note, good Lord, these are my friends. I want to thank our sponsors, Casual Gaming Dad and his page, Casual Gaming Dad on Facebook, Casual Gaming Dad's Corner as well. Make sure you join up on that. Check him out on YouTube and Twitch. That's Casual Gaming Dad 84. He does a lot of really great streams, and often every single week we stream. We join him for his stream of Among Us, and it's a lot of fun. And Ransom had a keynote, gloriously hilarious run as an imposter last week. It was so funny. I can't. You just have to go watch it.
No, I haven't watched it yet. I'm excited to do so, though.
Oh, it's it starts.
Let me know what you think of it, because it was. I'm telling you, after you watch it, you're gonna be like, "Damn, Ransom's got the big brain." Blah blah blah. Nope, sheer dumb luck.
It was. He literally. It was him going, "All right, I'm just gonna you just go watch it. It's amazing." We also want to thank Sean Tischler and his work with IWC. We're really looking forward to when IWC can start having more shows all across the Keystone State, and we're excited to go to more. Again, also make sure you go over to Gould Gaming and the Casual Gaming Dad store and pick up your very own P3 podcast shirt. That's $49.99. Not really. They're not that expensive.
If I may, go check out the Tone Bros podcast, as well as going and subscribing to my boys' podcast, Poot the Bard on YouTube and Frig Off Ransom on YouTube. Great content from these boys every single week. Check them out.
Oh, speaking of the Tone Bros, I'm not going to lie. Poot, out of sheer respect for you, I didn't do this. But be very clear. Be very clear about this.
All right.
Somebody had posted something in the Tom's Among Us thing.
Okay.
And I went in and looked at it. And when I went in and looked at it, when I opened up my Discord, for some reason, it defaulted to the Poot the Bar Discord. And that was the exact moment I saw you and your buddy recording the Tone Bros podcast. And I'm telling you, it took every fiber of my being to not because it was for some reason you were in the unlocked voice chat, because I looked. It took every fiber of my being to not pop in randomly and go, oh, no, time to podcast, freak off, Ransom, fuck you, Poot, and fire myself right out of there.
You should have done that. 10 out of 10 would have laughed my ass off.
See, I don't know.
Oh my God.
This is a bad friend moment, and I apologize. I have yet to listen to the Tone Bros podcast, but I didn't know if it was a more serious type musical discussion podcast, and I didn't know how well that would be received. So I restrained myself from doing so because I didn't want to ruin something that you're working hard to put out. It's fairly
serious in the sense that we talk about gear and stuff, but it's me and my buddy. You guys would like Matt a lot. He's a big wrestling fan as well. So like it would have been hilarious. The only thing is I just know that moment that you saw it, more than likely probably would have been when we were talking about the passing of Leslie West. So we were like, Leslie West, he was so great. And then all of a sudden, then bring on Ransom, P3 podcast, fuck you. That would have been
a super inappropriate moment. And I didn't know what was going on.
Oh, no.
So I restrained myself from doing so. But I just wanted you to know that I had that inkling moment in my brain that went, you know what? Fucking ruin it.
If either one of you ever run into that and you see us in there and it's myself and Matt, if you see either one of us doing that, please just pop in, say something irreverent. It'll be the funniest thing in the world, and Matt will be so confused, and it'll be the best thing ever. It'll be the greatest thing ever. Because Matt confused is one of my favorite things in the universe. Anyway, make sure you go give us a like over on our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast. Like us on Facebook as well. That's Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast. There's a theme here in case you haven't picked up on it. Also, you can find this podcast anywhere that you find your favorite podcast. We are on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Anchor. We're all over the place. Just search for Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast. For myself, Poot the Bard, baby, the madman himself, Alec Frigoff Ransom, Mr. Beef the Legend, and for our missing and absent reigning, defending, undisputed.
No, bullshit. He's not here. He doesn't get the fucking outro.
You always did. You did. Calm down.
I'm always here.
Calm down.
I'm always here.
You calm down.
He's not.
Our reigning, defending, undisputed cruiserweight champion, Casual Gaming Dad. Goodbye, everyone.
This week for New Year's Eve.